Armoire makes getting dressed easy. With a clothing rental membership from Armoire, build the perfect wardrobe with brands that are high quality, unique, and recommended just for you. All you have to do is take a 5-minute style quiz and select items from your dynamic personalized closet. The styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. Then when you're ready for new clothes, just swap them out for more new-to-you styles. Now, I went on a girls' trip to Santa Fe recently, and I rented all of my outfits from Armoire. It was so much fun putting together a mix of casual and formal looks, and my favorite was this pair of white, wide-legged jeans from Paige that went well with everything. Now, I wouldn't normally own anything white because I can be kind of clumsy, but with Armoire, I just ship it back and they'll take care of keeping the pants in pristine condition. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/dateable. That is armoire.style, spelled ARMOIRE.style/DATEABLE to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
We are chugging along, but chugging along with a porn star for this episode.
Didn't think we'd ever say those words.
Chugging along with a porn star. No, this is actually really exciting because how often do we get a porn star other than your cleaner, Lou?
This is our second porn star, actually. What I love about this, though, is that we're taking someone that is, in this, I guess, world that most of us aren't in. I mean, there could be some porn stars listening. I don't want to make generalizations, but I would venture that the majority of listeners are not in this world. But her dating struggles are so relatable to everyone, regardless of if you're a porn star or not. Just like this feeling of like, am I undateable?
The sex industry is such a mindfuck. Have you seen Honora yet, Julie?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's discuss after you watch that movie.
I've never even heard of that movie.
Oh, it won Best Picture.
Okay. I'm out of it.
So it's about a stripper / I guess like sex worker. She has her fairy tale romance with this billionaire son, and she thinks her life's going to be saved, and she quits her job and all this stuff. And everything happens after that. But the ending scene, which you need to watch it because the ending scene kind of wraps up what it's like to be a sex worker. And I think it's very similar to our guest for this episode, Ryan, who feels like I can sell sex, yes, but am I lovable? Am I dateable in a real life situation and a relationship? I can manipulate people to be enamored, infatuated with me through sex, but do I have other things to offer that would make someone fall in love with me?
And I would venture to say that even people, again, that aren't porn stars have had those thoughts. I feel like when I was younger, I felt like kind of I had to lead with sexuality more. Like that's what would make someone like me. And I think a lot of that's been ingrained in us from, movies and media and just the way like society portrays attraction and love and lust and all that. And I think it took a lot of like unraveling to be like, oh, actually, there's a lot more that you offer a partner, and partnership doesn't have to like look like this, I don't know, like this desire all the time. Like, of course, there's some desire in a romance. I'm not saying there's not, but I think like the fact that like your partner can just be someone that you like respect and treat as an equal and have that piece. I think I was never like taught that until like later, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, also just this point of sexuality, it can be both empowering and the highest form of vulnerability for someone. And I guess in any moment, it could be both. You can both feel empowered and vulnerable at the same time using your sexuality. And you're right, we've been taught to say that our value is in our sexuality. So we think that's what attracts a man. And then once you attract the man, you're like, do I need to keep giving this product to offer someone to stay with me?
I just remember I had a friend that actually got a breast reduction. And, like as someone like earlier that, like, had bigger breasts, you were seen as like this sexual being, right? But it was such a double-edged sword because then that's what you were seen as. And that's where you like developed your worth. You had to like kind of counter that for so long. But as someone that like maybe wasn't in that boat, you would look at that person and be like, oh, they have it all. They have it all figured out. And like, I think about like, Ryan today, like you think of like, this porn star as being sexy and having no problem attracting people and all of that. But it's just kind of a reality check that we like always look at what we don't have and don't recognize that like other people have the same insecurities, but like they show up different ways.
Yes. And she is also the center of so many fantasies. She is always playing the stepmom or the MILF or your friend's mom or the neighbor's hot mom that someone wants to fuck, and she can feel really empowered in that fantasy role. But then, like, when you translate that to real life, like, how would someone present you as a mother figure, right? Outside the bedroom. It's crazy.
So Yue and I met Ryan at Podcast Movement Conference. That's how this all came together last year. So it's been a bit. But when we met her, like we actually went to this like dating and relationship and sex podcasters meetup. And she was there because she has a podcast called I Seduce the Dragon podcast that she does with some of her friends. That's basically like a take on, like a sexy take on Dungeons and Dragons. And we were all like just enamored by this in the first place. But when she found out about Dateable, like her take to us was like, I am just so undateable, guys. Like, you don't understand. I'm undateable. And that, of course, got Yue and I intrigued. We started asking her questions and we're like, this is an interesting topic that we should have you on the podcast for, because I think a lot of people feel that way, maybe in different ways, but a lot of people have that one thing that they're just like, am I undateable because of this? Like, we've heard this a lot, and it doesn't even have to be looks related. Like, I think a lot of times, like, I have friends that are maybe like going through separations and divorces, and they're like, oh, am I going to be undateable because I have children that are like part of the package? Like, there's always something that people like question. And the answer, of course, is like, no, you are not undateable. We fundamentally don't believe anyone is undateable.
Yeah. It's like your relationship to your identity. When you identify as, like, I think for so long, it was like, I'm an Asian woman. Am I undateable to certain people because that's my identity? And I can see also with Ryan's, like, I'm a porn star. I'm in the adult entertainment industry. That's my identity.
Yeah.
Am I undateable to a certain population? But then to that, we would always say, don't be afraid to scare away the wrong people.
Right.
Like, even being dating podcasters has made us undateable to certain people.
It has.
And then we've said, fuck it, we don't want to be with those people anyway because they wouldn't embrace everything that we're doing.
I mean, I think for me, like, body image was a big one that like I know a lot of people go through this regardless of what your body shape and size is. It was so enlightening in our Facebook group with like people of all different like dimensions and shapes and sizes were like, I have this going on for me. And I'm like, whoa. Okay.
Yep.
Again, sometimes you just get in your head that you're like, I'm the only one that feels this way. Then you realize like everyone feels this way and it's slightly nuanced.
Yes. And then you realize the right person for you sees all these different identities of you as something they love.
Yes.
And they want. And then that's what attracted them to you in the first place.
Right. And I think like it's easy to be highly critical of ourselves. It's easy to be highly critical of other people too. But I think some of us have more of a hard time, like, letting it go on our own side. Like, I know for me, I feel like I was able to like look through like other people's imperfections. And I'm like, okay, like, maybe it's not ideal, but I don't really care. But, like for myself, I held on to like, oh my God, is this a deal breaker for them?
Right. And then if we just lean into who we are, then we're going to attract the right person. I think there's absolutely no difference between dating a porn star than dating an actor. I actually think it's almost worse for me because whenever I watch a movie, I'm like, wow, these actors have to have real feelings for their co-stars. A lot of times it's romantic, a lot of times it's sexual, or there's a lot of affectionate behaviors that are happening on screen. At least with a porn star, it's purely sex. Like there's really no storyline. Well, some do, but you know what I mean.
I think it's interesting dynamic too, because there's clearly like the part around looks and just being like fetishized and sexualized, but then there's also like the job and just like, does your job get in the way of your, dateability, quote unquote? And I think like even people that have jobs that may not be an actor or like a porn star, I think sometimes like they feel that way. They're trying to think of an example.
Like us. Like,
well, I mean, like even just like more common type professions. Like I think there's like stigma that follows a lot of different ones.
Yeah. Like, I know people who would never date a lawyer, but everybody has their own thing that is kind of who they are. But we also have to recognize all of this is temporary too. Your identity evolves over time. So who you are today could be different tomorrow, but it's ultimately like who you are deep down. That's the core of who you are that the right person would fall in love with.
And what better way to have the right person fall in love with you than to read our book? You like that transition?
I love it.
Because like we like to say, everyone is dateable already. Even if you don't think you are, you are. It's more of how do we get out of our own way and the ways that have confined modern dating to what it is today and start like peeling this back a bit and just being more authentic and showing up in a real conscious way where we're, looking at just like self-growth and development and actually building the right relationship. Because I actually, it's funny because I think we talked about this last week, right? On the episode with Paul and Eli. You had asked me, Yue, like, do you think that, some of your friends just like fell into relationships and they didn't have to learn this stuff about like the psychology of relationships? And my answer when we first talked about it was more like, I think things have gotten more complex and we're in the age of information and you have to unlearn. I still hold that opinion, but I was thinking about it more. And I actually think it's a really good thing that we're challenged with this information for the long run. Because I was talking to some friends like about just relationship things in maybe later stages of relationships now that I'm kind of entering a new stage myself. And a lot of it's like, oh, we don't discuss that or we didn't really think about that. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm always thinking about this stuff. And I actually think that's like really positive. And like I was talking to my partner about it. He's like, I think like I take for granted like how much we communicated, how much we like think about things and kind of carve that right path for us and our collaborative and like our team really. And I think that really comes down to this more conscious approach to dating that maybe wasn't there 10 years ago.
Yes, I love that term, conscious. It's being very, it's like front loading the work is what I think of this. And when you read our book, some of it could be very confronting because we are asking you to reflect and be very honest with yourself. But at the same time, you're going to confront this sooner or later. Why not do it now while you are maybe not in a relationship or in a newer relationship? Even if you are in a relationship, address all of this now so that you can build a toolbox for later. And your relationship is always going to go through ups and downs, but at least now you're set up for something really strong and sustainable. And I think that's what the conscious dating is about. It's like front loading the work and then confronting everything that you wouldn't normally want to.
And having the info that you can choose the right partner, like someone that's willing to do this with you.
Yeah.
Because like I think a lot of what I've learned from observing others is not every partner is willing to confront things and work together. No. And I'm just like so thankful all the time that like my partner is, and he's just like there and willing and ready. And I think I do take that for granted because I'm just like, oh, that's the norm, but it's not the norm.
When people say, I need to be with someone who has a lot of relationship experience, you don't. You just need someone who's willing to do the work and willing to have the conversations. Like the work needs to be done regardless of the experience that you've had.
Well, I think the key was the self-development Like, I really think that was the key. And I think a lot of people that are listening to this podcast that are reading the book, like when you're single is probably like the best time to work on this self-development. I think it's easy to be like, oh, I'm not building skills to be in a relationship. But I actually think in today's world of relationships, building those self-development skills contributes so much later on.
Yeah, definitely. And it's helpful for every relationship you have, not just romantic relationships.
Yeah.
I'm starting to find ways to consciously build relationships with my parents, because it used to be just like, listen to my parents, do what they say, and not try to argue or talk back. And now I think I am at a place of quote unquote authority and lead the conversation better. And I had a really honest conversation with my mom over the weekend, kind of like, how are you going to get the best out of your life at this stage in your life, Mom? And I never thought I would have these conversations before, but damn, like being able to have these skills and to want to invest in your relationships, it just makes all those relationships so worth it.
I think that's such a good point that you bring up, that it really is like beyond just dating and like romantic relationships. Like I had my uncle read the book. He finished the entire book, and
Love
he was
your
like,
uncle.
he's like, his comment was like, I really like, I'm clearly not in the market of dating, but I actually learned a lot. And this applies so much beyond just dating and romantic relationships.
Aww.
And one of my other friends, she was talking about how it's helped her actually think about making mom friends differently. How like before she was kind of like resistant, and she's like, because she was almost like trying to make them like an instant best friend. And if they did fit that role, it was kind of like, why bother? And she was like able to parallel it to like dating and relationships, with dating being like the sole, focus of finding your life partner, where she was like, after reading the book, I'm like, maybe I could just like go out with a new mom friend for an hour, and it doesn't need to be my BFF, but I learned something, or I have a form of connection. I'm like, oh, I love that. Like, that's such a different take, but I love how it's like, it does all connect.
Oh, so good. So what we're saying here is get the book for yourself, get the book, another book for a friend or family member who may not be dating, but they could surely benefit from better relationships in their life. And then get the audiobook for anybody who doesn't like to read in your life. Like basically just get a bunch of copies of our book and spread the love. Just regardless of the relationship status, everybody can benefit.
We are still trying to plan our New York City. If you have any suggestions of places to go, please reach out to us, because we'd love to be there in the next upcoming months.
Please, I really want to be in New York this year.
Well, howtobedateable.com, go there, send it around, leave a review. Thank you for everyone that's already done this. I know you've heard us ask for reviews on the podcast. Also leave one there if you haven't. But this really helps so much. It helps us like grow all of these avenues and just make this world a more dateable place.
And if you have friends who are reluctant to get the book, get them to take the quiz. Just tell them to go to howtobedateable.com, tell them to take the quiz so you can have conversations about your dating archetypes. Listen, they don't need to get the book. It'd be awesome if they did, but at least we can be speaking the same language.
Love it. Okay. At Dateable Podcast, make sure to follow us there on Instagram. And before we get into it with Ryan, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. Okay. Well, we might as well get into this episode. Let's hear it from Ryan Keely.
Well, the question we're trying to answer today is, can being too sexy make you undateable? How could that even be? Can you be too sexy that people do not want to date you? So Ryan Keely, so nice to have you on Dateable, and so nice to see you again after podcast movement.
It's really good to see you guys too. Thank you for having me on. I've been to a lot of conventions. I've never been to a podcasting convention before, so it was very interesting.
Our first also.
And you were our first pickup. We truly picked you up. Oh, hey. And she is dating someone, but haven't defined the relationship.
Well, we're definitely going to get into that. But we do want to start with what you talked about when we met you, of feeling undateable. Like, what does that mean to you? Like, that was your initial reaction, is I need to be on the podcast to talk about this.
I mean, I'm completely undateable. It's impossible for me to... Meeting someone is next to impossible. I can't be on any apps because I know too many people and too many people know me. So they either assume that it's fake. They're like, oh, this is someone who's catfish. I actually get screenshots from my friends being all like, hey, did you know that you're actually 33 and live in Newport Beach? And I'm like, oh, I'd love to be 33 and live in a Newport Beach.
Oh my goodness. Oh
You
my
know,
goodness.
so it's, yeah. And when I meet people at events, I'm usually there in like a professional capacity. So I'm not necessarily looking to meet people. Yeah, so it's kind of puts me in a weird situation of like, where would meeting someone is next to impossible.
Well, that comes with just being a public figure
Any
of
public
any
figure,
sort. Right. And also with the people that you date, they also would have to understand that you are recognizable by a lot of people who may not tell you, but they recognize you.
And then once I meet them, I have to walk through well, yes, this is what I do for a living. Are you going to treat me like a person, or are you going to expect the Ryan Keely experience, which is not, I mean, I'm going to let you in a secret. Ryan Keely is a nom de porn and not my real name, and is a character that I play.
Right. It's like you have a work persona,
yes,
and then you have the real persona.
Yes. Where do you even start with that?
I can see people saying you've made a living basically getting people off, getting people to be attracted to you and getting them off. Yeah. So then wouldn't that translate into dating? Like, wouldn't it be so easy for you to attract people into your orbit?
It'd probably be very easy for me to get laid.
That's the difference.
But even that's challenging. I mean, I remember a couple New Year's Eves ago, I was in a small town and there was this cute guy that I really wanted to kiss on New Year's Eve. And they literally ran out of the house and into the barn to get away from kissing me because I was just like too much and too intense.
And is that because they knew who you were, or just because of like your what they met?
I wouldn't know. I mean, okay. I've been Ryan Keely for 20 years, so I don't know. Like, is that just me? Am I just bad at hitting on people? Which I am. And I always face a lot of the problems that like anyone that's really busy faces. Like, I work long hours, so like any entrepreneur faces the same things where it's like I'm very direct and I don't have time to play coy and my flirt text game used to be so good and it's just not so good anymore because I've got to like respond to these WhatsApp messages about this project and like
I don't have time to flirt.
Prepare the studio for this thing.
So you kind of brought this up with the story about the guy running to the barn, but like what other assumptions do you think are made about you? Like when people interact in that dating setting?
I had a guy who we'd gone on a couple really great dates. We had hooked up. Things were I thought going really well. But, this is 2-3 weeks in. I got a text message hey, I'm going to come over later. You better be wearing something sexy. I want to see da, 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 da. And I'm like, do you want to order a custom through my website? Because that sounds like what you want. This doesn't sound like a date. And it's like, I am here to be your sex robot, I am the sex doll.
And then how do you respond to that?
I think my response was, oh, it sounds like you want to order a custom through my website.
This is not dating.
I thought we were hanging out. I thought we were doing the Netflix and chill. I did not want to put on a schoolgirl costume tonight.
This unrealistic expectation of you, right. Just based on your work.
So if I'm hearing you right, a lot of it's because of the industry. Do you think there's an element, some of our listeners are obviously not porn stars, but have, experienced similar things? It's an interesting phenomenon because I think we all are always I wish we were a little hotter or a little sexier or a little thinner, right. Whatever. But then sometimes there's challenges that come from that. I see you shaking your head. What do you think are some of the challenges?
I mean, I've commoditized my appearance for professional gain. I don't think that is healthy long term because everybody ages, we all get older. And when you have, it's the same thing with entitlements. Now that we have Obamacare, people that were so anti-Obamacare will go up in arms and vote against their standard ticket to keep those benefits. And so that's the thing when it comes to things like beauty or, wealth or whatever. When you have something that a lot of people aspire for, once you have it, that can all go away. And so it's better to learn to be happy with what you have and work with what you have.
Have you ever had an instance where someone was attracted solely on looks and then when you revealed personality, they were suddenly not?
All the time.
You're like, I have a list. Okay.
Actually, about 2 weeks ago, I went to my friend's birthday party. Actually, this Sunday too.
Okay, so this is like common occurrence.
Yeah, because like I know that I'm not exclusive with I know that my person's not exclusive to me. And while I am naturally monogamous by nature, like outside of work, I am always like monogamous by right. I just am, and I always have been. But I've been like, oh, I need to try to like talk to people and meet people and like get, put yourself out there. In the last 2 times that I've talked to guys, it's been a disaster.
Why?
I mean, they look at me, they see, I don't know. I'm too dorky, or I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm just bad at talking to people. And maybe that's why I do porn, is because I'm like, you are contractually obligated to have sex with me today. Here are my...
Oh, interesting. So you're saying you have no game? Is
Zero.
that what you're saying?
Absolutely zero game.
Do you think like, I don't know, I don't mean this in like a weird way, but like we've heard this before with men. It's like when you're really a hot guy, you don't have to like try that hard because you're like hot. So you like get attention. Do you think it was something like that? Like that
probably
led to no game?
I mean, I'm trying to tell them about my D&D podcast. So apparently that's not everybody's turn on. Yeah. I actually, both times I was trying to tell them about my, like, oh, what do you do? Like, oh, what are your hobbies?
I think that's good though. It's good that you're putting it out there because like, yeah, like if this was like any other person that wasn't a porn star, we'd say the same thing, right? Like they're gonna talk to a lot of people that just aren't that into you. Like that's the majority of dating when you think about it. Like 99% of people aren't going to be a match. So you just need to keep leading with who you are. And it sounds like you basically run into the same challenges.
I may look like America's stepmom, and actually, funnily enough, I am. But actually, what I really want to do is tell you about my D&D podcast, and possibly go to Home Depot and do some chorin. Are you into chorin?
Well, maybe that's where you have it harder. I think it's like that bait and switch. I think because people think they're getting one thing, and then you turn it around where someone else maybe that's just leading with their dorkiness. Like maybe that's something they just like put out there to begin with.
I mean, you just basically described what is wrong with a lot of modern dating today is that we try to fit people into a bucket before we get to know them. And it's hard to get them out of the bucket. We make all these assumptions about someone, especially with online dating. When you see someone's profile, especially your profile, Ryan,
they don't think
someone's
it's
like,
right.
And if they truly think it's you, they did not put you in the girlfriend, possibly long-term partner bucket. They were like, ooh, let's see what she's all about bucket.
I bet she's going to invite me over for a wild time.
Right. Yeah. They're already fantasizing about you. And then if you bring any sort of dimension or intellect into the conversation, it probably throws them for a loop. And they're like, this is not what I was prepared for. I don't want to deal with this. But even if you're not a porn star, we see this happening too. People put people in these buckets and it's like hard to get them out because we like making assumptions. Just easier that way without getting to know someone.
Right.
Do you ever find yourself toning down your sexiness?
Oh, most of the time. I mean,
how do you do it?
Like I wear baggy clothes. I don't wear makeup. And because, I'm a woman out and about, and I'm a woman who's lived alone for always, basically. And I, unfortunately, like a lot of women, have experienced stranger danger and sexual assault in public places. I'm not comfortable around strangers. A lot of baggy clothes. I love my Carhartt.
Do you do that intentionally when you go on dates?
No, when I go on dates, I get dressed up. That's my favorite. Because I don't.
Do you like sex it up or do you turn it down?
No, I mean, it's all kind of the same. I mean, like this makeup that I have on right now and like this outfit that I have on now is like, if I'm going anywhere where it's like, if I'm running errands, I am like sweatpants hiding. Like, I don't want anyone to look at me. But if I'm going anywhere where I'm like talking to people, it's probably a sundress and light makeup. The genre that I'm in is like stepmom. It's so dumb. And so I'm not like, like in like a tiny little cocktail dress. I mean, and I do have huge tits, but like, so I can't really hide them, but I'm not, I'm not wearing things that are cut down to my belly button.
Well, for people are obviously not watching this, but someone, maybe they're seeing our clips on Instagram, but for anyone on audio, I would say you're definitely like put together, but I wouldn't say it's over the top by any means.
I mean, the reason why I asked that question is, do you ever feel like you have to be inauthentic to who you are in order to attract a partner. And you're basically saying no, which is like kind of what we're trying to tell everybody is stay true to who you are, keep going the direction you want to go. And whoever's ready to come along for the ride, they'll be there. But you're going to be filtering a lot of people off of your train along the way. And that's the good part, I guess, right? At what point when you meet someone do you reveal what you do, if they don't know who you are yet?
Always right off the bat. I've tried to go the other way, and no one takes it very well. So it's easier just to be like, yes, this is what I do. If you are going to have a problem dating a sex worker or being friends with a sex worker, at this point, it's got to be someone that I kind of know. So I'm just like very upfront about it because my career is not going to change. And if someone has a problem with sex work, I need to know right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just don't have a place in my life.
That's a total deal breaker.
But sex work is work, guys.
Obviously, like when we met you, you shared what you did, but we could see like the other sides of you too. Like, just your personality and your like passion for I Seduce the Dragon. And
I am a huge nerd. Yeah. I mean, I don't read comic books like I used to, but like this is my comic book rack over here.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm a huge nerd. Always have been, always will be. I'm multiple flavors.
I love all this about you though, because it shows that there's like so much more, than like just the sexy like sex symbol. And I guess like bringing it back though, like do people that you date when you do date, like do they see these nerdy sides? Like how do you let that stuff come out?
I mean, it's pretty apparent. Okay. I think with usually about 5 minutes of knowing me, someone realizes that I'm just a big old dork. I only play like a glamorous, sensual woman on the internet. Because the rest of the time I'm like, do you want to talk about podcasts and Ford policy and my comic book collection? Also, I've been super into home improvement right now. Do you want to see what I've been doing? Like, I'm such a dork. And a lot of times people like that part of me, and then they have a hard time reconciling that person with the person I play on camera because she only exists 4 days out of the month,
Right.
And the rest of the time I'm like, oh yeah, you want to come over? Cool. Well, I'm filling holes and I'm doing touch-up painting, and I'm like way too excited about it. I'm like, you want to go to the hardware store, bro?
Right. Like you're not like filling your hole all the time. You're actually doing like holes around the house, like a normal person.
No, and I do so much gay porn. I'm always filling holes. Usually not my
own. Have you been in a long-term relationship since being in the industry?
Yes, and I've basically been in the adult industry my entire adult life. I mean, I took a hiatus from 2012 to 2017 due to some. Well, honestly, the MILF category hadn't been invented yet. And so in 2012, I thought my career was over at however old I was at that point.
And you had relationships?
Always.
Throughout this time?
Always, yeah.
Always.
So how did you meet those people?
I mean, in my 20s, two of my serious boyfriends and I actually met them both at strip clubs where I was working.
Okay.
I met another person I met through, it was like my one and only OkCupid date. Through friends. I just normal stuff. I mean, work or through friends.
Those are the normal ways. Do you feel like you like struggled with some of the stuff that you're struggling with now of like this too sexy or like, view of just like a sex object? Was that an issue then too? Or is this new?
I didn't do boy-girl scenes until 2017. I'd always done girl only or solo and glamour. So I had always been, and in my brain, it's like, well, because I generally date men, but not always. I was like, well, it's not like I'm touching other penises, so why are you jealous? And honestly, they had a harder time with that than now when I date people and I'm like, and I do boy-girl scenes. It's actually been slightly easier because I'm no longer in like a pseudo porn star category where they think they can like talk me out of it.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Yeah. Now that I'm like fully committed.
I see. So now it feels like before, like they saw it as an occupation, but they were like maybe like, oh, she'll end up changing her mind, or
she'll want to get married and have kids, and is like looking to be wifed up and housewifed up. Which
but do you?
Oh my God, I'd be so bored. I don't want kids, but I would like to be married. I mean, because I want to be chosen. I want to be picked. I want someone to put me first.
But you want to be married and still keep your career. You're not saying you would give up your career to be
Not for
married.
marriage. Are you kidding me?
But some people have assumed that that is what you wanted.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it's like, oh, well, like, well, what are you going to do if we get married? And I'm like, my job? But I mean, I've had, offers from previous boyfriends like, oh, well, you can retire and I can take care of you. And I'm like, I will be so bored. I understand that you have the money to support me, but what am I going to do all day?
So is it that they don't, like, I guess this is the part I'm struggling with. Like, is it that they just don't approve? Is that why they want you to, like, stop doing it?
Generally, yeah. It's jealousy. People have a very dim view of people that are engaged in sex work and are like, oh, well, you could do something else. Why aren't you doing something else? And it's like, maybe I found the right fit for me. Like, I have had other jobs. I know I can do other jobs. This is the one that I actively choose again and again, just like I would like to actively choose you as my partner every single day.
So there's some respect that's lacking.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard this from some of my girlfriends who are, I would say, like they met partners during their partying phases and they were, very sexy and like very flirtatious during this time. It was very easy for them to attract people and date people. And then once the talk about relationship came up, they felt like the men didn't respect them to be partners. They wanted them to play with and to hang out with. Like the men were like, well, then are you going to stop partying? Are you going to start dressing a different way if you want to be my girlfriend? And it was like really strange because it was the exact same thing that attracted these men that now were the challenges for these men to enter into relationships with them.
That's exactly it. How did they get out of that and meet their partners? Tell me everything.
Well, they had to find the men who embraced every part of them. It's difficult, but like it all comes down to respect. Mm-hmm. All of them ended up with really great guys who respect them for who they are and respect every part of them.
I think it's interesting, though, to like the point that you were saying, though, Yue, about like, the messages that we get and like the personalities and what draws someone. Like I hear this all the time of like, in media, it's like you have to be sexy. Like that's the message women have gotten for so long. But then I've heard of like men be like, oh, they have bikini shots in like a dating app. Like that's not a serious person.
Right.
Like how do like women start to like toe that line? Like
there isn't.
It feels like a lose-lose.
There isn't a way to juggle all of those things. It's entirely impossible. It's not possible.
Do you just have to lean into one or like be authentic to yourself? Like what is it?
I don't, but if I'm authentic to myself, does that affect my career? This has been my career for over a decade.
Wow.
So it's like, you can't really ask me to quit my job.
Yeah. And it's like accepting you for who you are too, right?
Yeah.
You're never gonna like
what I've done with my entire adult life. There's a element of like performative sexuality, and performative femininity that also is in there too. So it's all very complex. And it's just like, ugh. And obviously, I don't have to be monogamous with this person off camera. What I do on camera is me going to work. And if anyone has a problem with that, the relationship's not going to work. And I was briefly married to another performer. It was a total disaster. Dating in the industry is not great.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, is that an option?
It is an option. And it's one that I explore occasionally. I definitely wouldn't date another man in the industry. I've dated a couple of them. And the issue is that I shoot 4 days a month. A male performer who's good is shooting 5 or 6 days a month. In a way, I always felt like they were more plugged into what was going on. And I felt like I was left out, which isn't really the case because I am just as involved, but not necessarily on set kind of capacity. But also they're having sex with people outside the relationship 5 to 6 days a week. Whereas for me, it's 4 or 5 days a month. And it's a different person every day. And so for me, that was a lot. And here's the thing is that sometimes they need to save, this is going to get very graphic. So trigger warning, I'm about to talk about some fluids and things. Sometimes male performers need to save their cum for set. And so if they're having sex with their partner at home, they might not be ejaculating. And for me, I was like, well, why am I even going to bother? Because I like to get people off. I mean, I don't know if you know what I do for a living, but
Yeah,
I like to make people feel good.
What about like people in the industry, but they're not like porn stars, for instance?
Like the sound guy.
Or like Raya for an app. Like, I guess, like, are these options?
I have been pending on Raya since like 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, I would love it if Raya would approve me.
What?
And with someone who's a sound guy, I'm open to it. I haven't met anyone. It's been however many years, so I don't know if there's someone new. But it's also, I'm really driven and ambitious. So it's like, I want to date someone who's also driven and ambitious. And I don't necessarily want to talk about the industry when I'm at home.
Right.
You know, or when I'm in home mode. I guess I work from home, but like, you know, like at the end of the day, I don't want to be all like, oh, well, let's strategize and blah, blah, blah. You know, I want someone that is equally as focused and driven in their own industry, because I want to hear about something because that's interesting, you know?
You are dating someone now, but haven't defined the relationship. Tell us more about what's going on there.
So I've been dating someone casually for a few years now. We see each other a couple times a week. It's very stable, but I'm not their primary partner. They have a primary partner that they are like locked in with, and like that is their person, whatever. And, you know, it's all ethical and discussed and boundaries and everything. But I'm the tertiary person in that relationship. And while it's great to be with someone where I am getting stable affection and communication and like, you know, someone who is a friend that I can be in a relationship with, that's amazing. But at the same time, I know that that's never going to be a forever thing for me, because that has already been a clear boundary that exists. This relationship, which is amazing and supportive and very loving, do I walk away from that and be single in Los Angeles? Do I want to jump into that hellscape?
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners. So is this someone that you met through the industry? I know you met, like you mentioned earlier, it was hard to meet people. How did you meet them then?
Randomly, it was one of those happenstance things. I was at a hotel bar. They were there with their partner. We met, we hit it off, reconnected a few months later, stayed in contact during COVID, which I think a lot of us developed like really like deep, intimate friendships during COVID. And, you know, we've been seeing each other kind of ever since. But they have a whole situation that is their situation and I'm not part of. And for a long time, that's been fine, because if they get jealous about what I do at work, and be like, you live with an entire other human being like that you spend holidays with. Like, you can't get jealous about my job when you have a mortgage with someone. Like,
wow.
So for a long time, that's actually been kind of great. But, you know, like,
You want more?
Yeah. What are you looking for?
What am I looking for? I mean, I like what I have, but I'm not first.
You want to be prioritized.
I want to be prioritized. And it's also, you know, the thing about, you know, because I'm not prioritized in that relationship. Also, like with my fans. Weirdly enough, when I'm at home, I don't, you know, want to put on stockings and lipstick. You know, if I want to have sex.
I wonder why.
You know, I actually love quickies. Like that's, you know, I do not want to be having sex for 35 minutes in 7 different positions. Can I date someone that just wants to have sex for 7 minutes and missionary? Because that's what I'm really looking for. I mean, like, can we just 7 minutes in missionary, so making out? Because like that, I mean, I promise, I swear, don't believe what you see on the internet.
I mean, Ryan, this is something we'd probably tell someone that's not a porn star. But I think from what you said earlier of being in this relationship that's not really ultimately what you want, I think that's holding you back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that space to let it go. And that's like for anyone that came to us in that situation, that's has nothing to do with attractiveness or anything.
Yeah.
And then do you think that for the people you date, because you want to be prioritized, do you feel like maybe they also want to be prioritized? Maybe possibly you prioritize your career over them?
Possibly, yeah. I definitely have some of those tendencies, but a lot of that comes from not feeling secure in relationships ever.
Yeah.
You know, there's always been, and again, this is, you know, dating is just hard and finding people is just hard. There's a lot of things like that are not work. It's hard to find things that are intellectually stimulating. And so that's what I've always liked about the adult industry, is that it's constantly changing and evolving. So it's requires me to constantly, be engaged. And I think maybe I haven't found a relationship with someone that's challenging in a healthy way.
Yeah. I guess like with your current partner, I know it's not ideal because you're not the primary, but like, do you feel like he's able to see you as more than a porn star, like for the many sides of you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay.
Like my mom is a hoarder, which is really challenging. And we finally got her moved and it was a whole thing. And so I spent over the last couple of years, like I've been dealing with that process, which has been awful. And like they like would come down and help me like unpack storage units through like help me talk through with my mom as she's having like these meltdowns about like getting rid of stuff. And so they've been there through that. Like they have been a partner.
Okay.
Yeah. We did an 8-day cruise with my family for one of my cousin's weddings.
Okay.
And I have a big family. So yeah, no, they've been a really great partner. And then my only complaint is like, but we can't, there's no, and maybe that's something I need to get over.
There's no future.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's actually proof. We started this conversation. You said that you felt undateable. First of all, you and I don't think anyone's undateable. So we'll start with that right there. But I think this is actually proof that you absolutely can find someone that appreciates the many sides of you. I think for this, more of the problem is that you're just not aligned with the type of relationship you want, which is a problem that anyone, porn star or not, attractive or not, would deal with. So personally, I think it's ammunition that you can find that person.
Yeah, no porn stars. We're just like everybody else.
Really
we
are.
probably just have
You
cleaner
struggle.
buttholes. We know strangers are going to look at us. See, that's the one thing our undercarriage, tidy.
Your situation's situated at all times.
Yeah. Baby wipes, we got bum guns, we got it all going on. Yeah, no, it's like we're just like anybody else. It's the same struggles, same issues. But there's a couple of like pretty big hurdles.
There are hurdles, but end of the day, you're looking for someone who respects you for all of who you are, someone who prioritizes you, and someone who's looking for the same things as you, regardless of which industry anybody's in.
Yeah.
I mean, those are kind of like the basics of what you're looking for. But also what I'm hearing you say is you are getting closer to finding that, but also being able to like voice what it is that you need in a relationship is probably something you can focus on from now on.
Yeah. Have you guys so dating is hard, assumptions are hard. What do you guys think about things like matchmaking services? Do you think they're real? Do you think they're a scam? Do you think that they have success? Is that something you guys have tried?
I feel like it actually is something I wouldn't recommend to most people, but for you, I think it actually could be a good option because of the limitations you've shared, right? That it's like hard to put yourself on apps and to be public. I think like for
attention, so whatever.
This is the call. I think that is though, like for the everyday person, I'm not sure if the price tag warrants the service.
I don't make money
but I
like
think for
that.
someone,
I don't know if I could. Jesus Christ! I'm like, do I get a facelift or do I hire a matchmaker? It's the same goddamn price.
But at least it would help you like get to new people without putting yourself publicly. So I do see the merit. I'm curious, Yue, your thoughts.
I think you would be so great for anything where it brings people together without you knowing about these people ahead of time. So Julie used to run this service. No, like an event.
Yeah.
Event.
Like a meetup.
Yeah.
A meetup.
Called 500 Brunches, where she would match people up and then bring them to brunch. But you don't know anything about the people that you're coming to brunch with. So now they have something similar in LA where they bring strangers together for dinner. It's like a supper club, but you don't know. And I feel like that's how we kind of met you. We did not go to podcast movement going, we're going to meet Ryan Keely, but you happened to show up at this meetup we were at and we totally hit it off.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the same thing. It's like people can't have preconceived notions about you. They just have to meet you for the real you.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And then like showing the different sides of you that you've talked about. And like, of course, if you're meeting someone like over brunch, you're probably wearing different attire than like in your like profile on OnlyFans, right?
I do wear a lot of sundresses.
I mean, the balance I keep thinking of is like, how do you stay true to yourself? Because obviously that's the core of it. Like we never want to tell anyone, right? Like that they should deviate from what makes them them. But also like, how do you show the many sides of yourself so you don't get put into the bucket? I think that's like the the balance to do. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, I feel like there's an untapped market there.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm hoping. I mean, I'm absolutely hoping. I mean, I do not want to play Dungeons and Dragons with anyone other than the girls on Ice Age the Dragon because we have the perfect crew.
But conferences, like where we met you, all of those are taking it out of the element. I think that is so key. Or just showing the other sides of you. It's not even taking you out of the element. It's just you in a different capacity. It's still you.
Yeah. I'm looking for another entrepreneurial, emotionally sensitive nerd.
There you go.
And that's totally out there. I mean, I'm not saying this to equate us to you at all. I don't mean it that way. But like, I did struggle when I was dating. Like, people didn't want to date a podcaster that talked about their dating life. It was something that came up for me a few times with people I dated. And then eventually I was like, well, I'm not changing this. Like, this is something that the right person needs to get behind.
19 now with you. We've shooed away a lot of people in those 19 seasons.
But this was something I was like, for when I met my current partner that I've been with now for 3 years, I was like, I need to tell him right away because I got in trouble when I was like hiding it. And then, you know, it like kind of like felt like I was withdrawing information. Again, I'm not saying you're doing that. But
I have something to tell you, which is terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, why didn't you tell me immediately? Or like, what are you doing? But I think that ultimately, while it feels like in the moment, like, oh, this is just another reason someone can pass on me, it's ultimately a filtering system to get you to someone that actually respects and accepts what you do.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many takeaways from this conversation. I mean, I think one part is that like even porn stars have struggles with dating and relationships. And you joke that like porn stars are just like the rest of us, but there is a side of it, you know? Goes though to a takeaway I have is like we have to really understand all the people we're dating and the many sides of them, because what is maybe the at first glance or the bucket we put them in isn't the holistic picture at all. So that's for like, you know, the daters out there when we're assessing, and I don't want to use the word judging, but I will use the word judging because that's the reality there. But also as daters too, like how do we show people the many sides of us? Again, I don't want to say like people don't put a bikini shot on your Tinder profile, but the reality is that that does come with association. So maybe it's putting that bikini shot, but also shots of you reading the book or playing Dungeons and Dragons, like whatever it is to balance out who you are as a person. I think that's so pivotal, especially like when we know human nature sometimes to do crappy things like that.
Well, I've learned that people really want to fuck their stepmoms. I guess that's
Why? Why? I mean, I'm glad that I have a career again where I get to write off my lingerie. But like,
listen,
what's wrong with you guys?
You know,
if it's like hot neighbors.
If it's supporting your career, it's supporting your career. The second takeaway I have is everyone struggles with dating. This is what we're learning. Like everyone, regardless of how hot or sexy you are, how confident you are, everyone struggles with dating. And it is how we make dating work for us instead of us trying to mold ourselves into what we think other people want. So the more people you can scare away or filter away, the better, because then it means like that's better time used on the people who are here for you and the most authentic you, who is not Ryan Keely, because we just found out the Ryan Keely on screen, but also the person IRL as well. So yeah, for anybody who's struggling, like, well, I bet so-and-so doesn't have these struggles. Yeah, they do. Everybody does.
My takeaway is I have no game, and maybe that's what I need to work on is that I just don't have game because I've been able to like, you know, use the glamour to bring in prospects, and maybe I need to work on my finesse.
Yeah, or it's not even game, but just like relating.
Yeah,
you know,
there's
like
a level of I need some game.
Okay, we won't deny it. We won't deny it. But
I mean, if we met at, you know, if like we were talking and you were like, "Hey, let me tell you about my Dungeons and Dragons podcast," I'd probably be like, why?
Because it's the thing that I'm most excited about right now.
But I still think the right person would be down for it. I think that's why, like, I don't know if it's game.
It's how, it's how you make it matter to that person. It's just related to the other person, you know, like instead of going in cold with your Dungeons and Dragons podcast,
No.
ask them about their Dungeons and Dragons experience first. So, like, I think people just want to be part of the conversation.
I'm just trying to think, like, every time I go to the hardware store, which seems like the obvious place where I should talk to people. There hasn't been anyone cute at the hardware store in the last 6 times I've been in the last month.
Maybe you're not lingering long enough. Just like spend a good 6 hours there. I mean, you're spending like 8 hours at work, so maybe do the same.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Like they say on The Bachelor, I'm open.
So, Ryan, I want to grill on one thing, though. You said you're open, but are you open? Because you still have someone lingering. What's your take on that after this conversation?
I mean, it's hard.
Stay
tuned.
tuned.
Like, I would love to meet somebody, but also I work nonstop. And so why would I, if I don't even have another option out, like if I don't even have the hope of an option, it's hard to walk away from someone who's been an amazing friend.
This is what we see all the time, though. Like, get in people's way is that they have this lingering person that isn't the right person, and that's what's preventing them. Like, friends with benefits, like poly partner, whoever it is, like there's this space it's taking up and not putting out there. So just something to think about. You don't have to make any decisions today.
If I was in your true reaction,
just putting it out there.
I'm open, but
you don't need to break up on the air. We're just putting it out there.
Why don't you call him now?
She's like, I did not sign up for this. Yeah.
They might be calling me once they listen to this episode.
Well, maybe it's for the better.
I don't know. My prediction is you're going to meet someone through the podcast somehow.
Yes.
That's my prediction for you.
I mean, maybe that's my next chapter.
And to bring our question full circle, I am standing true that you are 100% dateable, not going against that. So
yeah, I don't think there's no such thing as too sexy. There's just no such
too
thing.
nothing. Yeah.
You're not too much of anything. Nobody's ever too much of anything. And if anybody ever tells you that, they're not the right person for you. Yeah. What's right for you will appear for you. We really believe in that. But what is right for you right now is your Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Tell us more about where we can find the podcast. And
it's called I Seduce the Dragon. It's available on every single podcast app that exists. You can go to ISTD. Yes, ISTD stands for I Seduce the Dragon now. istdpod.com. You can find all of our links. We are also istdpod on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And on Instagram and TikTok, we're starting to do little animatics of little scenes of our game. And I don't want people to think this is a D&D podcast like any other D&D podcast, because it's not. Do you like funny, smart adult women talking shit, making jokes, and going on adventures and storytelling? Then you like this podcast. It is not a weedy, nerdy mechanics D&D podcast for 3 hours. It's one who's... Here's the thing. I didn't get into Dungeons & Dragons for years because I was like, it seemed really boring. You know, like, oh, I got to remember this spell and that spell and like, ba. So we cut out all of like the mechanic stuff, and it's just the adventure part.
As soon as I met you, I told my partner, because he used to have a Dungeons & Dragons like group at work, so we're listening.
It's really fun, and it's a great way to connect with your friends, and that's what it came out of, was just connecting with my friends, and then we decided to share it with other people.
It's great. On that note, thank you so much, Ryan Keely, for being part of Dateable. So nice meeting you at Podcast Movement. So glad we made this happen. For all of our listeners, you've got 2 podcasts to support now. So why don't you go to Apple Podcasts now and give both of us a 5-star rating and review, maybe in the comments. Leave a little something that you learned about sex industry. Porn stars, or your stepmom. I don't know. Leave something that's related to this podcast. Or Dungeons & Dragons, right? All right, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you again for being on Dateable, and thank you for our listeners. Wrapping this up, stay dateable.